Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book podcast. My name is Eric Wilbenaw, the president of the Baseball Blue Book. Are you in the book? The most comprehensive directory since 1909 is now available for download on Google Play and Apple Store. You can also visit us at baseballbluebook.com for more information. So make sure you download it today. Costs nothing. It's great to build a profile, add highlights, add your stats for the summer season, and search our comprehensive directory. Find the coach, the program that you are interested in. Before we begin, hit that like button, share and subscribe. We want to make sure we reach other viewers just like you to get this out. Today's podcast is brought to you by Empowerment Sports Group, a full advisory and consulting firm with over 10 years of experience, educating and helping athletes develop within baseball and life. ESG enables athletes to achieve their version of success and positively impact their community. For more information, visit them at esgsportsgroup.com or on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Joseph Guzman and Michael McGinnis over there, great guys, helped a lot of players. I've had the privilege of having them on a couple of podcasts with their players, so we're excited to have them as a sponsor. Today's guest is Kaleb Roper. He plays for Birmingham Barons today and a number of colleges. We're going to go through all of those. Hey, Kaleb, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. Doing well. So why don't you go ahead, do a quick introduction, talk about what you're doing today, and then we'll get right into some of the questions that I have for you.
Yeah, like you said, I'm here playing in the White Sox organization, Double A in Birmingham. We're currently in Pensacola right now. It's actually raining right now, but should pass over here pretty quickly. Yeah, just, we lost a tough one last night, got walked off on in the bottom of the ninth, but looking to bounce back today.
Good. That's great. Well, Kaleb, I really appreciate you joining us. The Baseball Blue Book, we're excited to bring a lot of actual major league players. We actually just interviewed a player yesterday that is committed to your alma mater, Tulane. We talked about that a little bit before. So that was a lot of fun talking to somebody that was almost a decade younger than you, and just the excitement that he has. It looks like it's still exciting and what you're doing. One of the things you just said, and we'll get into this, is, one of my questions is always to the guys that are in the minor leagues, how important is it to win for the minor league guys? Because you're on a journey to make it to the majors, obviously, and so winning it's probably secondary, but I don't think it really is. I know that it's development, it's working on a lot of different things. Talk about how the transition from just the early days of that's the focus to where you're at now and balancing, winning versus kind of development and putting people in the right place to get them to that next level.
Yeah, it's always a question that comes up kind of when you're in the minor league system is, who really wants to win, who's really just here, trying to get to the next level. But I'd answer that question by saying, if you're winning, it's a lot more fun. And when you're winning, that usually means everybody's playing pretty well.
Great point.
So, yeah, winning to me is always important just because that means everybody's playing well. And once you're playing well, that's how the development gets you to the next level anyway. So they kind of go hand in hand. And I think if you focus too much on just playing for yourself, one, you can get isolated really quickly because people start to notice. And then once you're on that island by yourself, then, it's hard to develop by yourself. So I would say it's kind of better when you kind of have that college and high school mentality of playing together, and like I said, it's always a lot more fun when you're winning.
I think that's a great point. We ask a lot of the kids of kind of what they're like in the dugout, win or winning or losing, and it's something that coaches always talk about, right? What is their talk about the personality, who they are as a person, not necessarily the skills that they have, but I think what you just brought up is a perfect example of development comes right along with that. So. The other thing is baseball is certainly a team sport, but it is absolutely an individual sport. And you just talked a little bit about getting on that island. You still are just responsible for yourself and what you're doing in your journey. The balance of that. Talk a little bit about how do you keep yourself focused on your own development where you want to go, but also continuing to stay in there in that team mindset and the winning attitude.
Yeah. Baseball's a weird sport, and that's basically a bunch of individual battles in a team. So one thing I try to do is just focus on what I can control, what my job is that day. I was in a starting role to start the year, just got moved to the bullpen, which has been a lot better for me. So I'm available a lot more, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to throw that day.
Right.
So my preparation has to be the same every day, and the fact that I need to be ready to pitch even if I don't get in. I just try to focus on what I can control, and when my name's called, just focusing on my job for that day to help the team win.
So you talked about feeling better in the bullpen. Have you always been a starter, and this is kind of the first time you've been in that position and you like it, or is that where you've kind of always felt comfortable?
No, I was always a starter. High school, college. That's all I've ever known is starting. But the transition to the pen has been good for me throwing in shorter stints. As a starter, I'd have a couple good innings and run into that big inning that I couldn't really control. So moving to the pen kind of gets me more of those short stints and can help the team that way.
Obviously, a mindset thing, and not good, bad, indifferent. It's just different, right? Guys that come in with that short area and getting their business done, it's a totally different thing. What have you done, other than just going to the bullpen? What have you done to prepare yourself mentally for that transition?
The mindset's completely different. You kind of have to have that cornerback mindset. When it comes to football, but I'm out there more often. I go out there, I have a rough outing, I get a day off, and then I'm available again. So it's kind of just that quick reset compared to starting. You got 5 days in between to kind of digest everything, get ready for the next one.
Okay, no, that's good. So let's go back to high school years, and we'll talk a little bit about the recruiting process. For people that don't know, Kaleb, played at a few colleges, so we'll talk about that journey, the goods and the bads of it. But high school wise, you were down in Louisiana, and high school. Talk about your high school career, some of the positive things, and maybe something that you would like to maybe change if you had an opportunity to change during the high school and the recruiting time.
So high school started out freshman year, going into high school. I always played outfield. I always wanted to be a hitter. I had fun running down the outfield and just could never put the bat together. So that's when I finally met Walter my junior year of high school. I think he came down, sat me down, gave me the hard truth, and was like, you need to be a pitcher. I always had a good arm.
Yep.
I had a good outfield arm, just could never swing it. So that's kind of when I made the transition to being a pitcher in my junior summer going into senior year. Walter got me on with Evo Shield, so I played with them that summer, and that was really good. Got a lot of exposure. And that's when I committed to the University of Arizona.
Okay.
Was going into my senior year. Fast forward to senior year, I was still playing outfield and hitting, kind of just finishing my high school career, doing the two-way thing. But knowing going into college, I was just going to be a pitcher.
Okay.
Ended up blowing my elbow out my second start of the year, my senior year. So I didn't even really get to, that whole senior year experience. I kind of just watched from the sidelines. But I had Tommy John surgery August 2014. So missed my whole senior year. Fast forward to college, rehabbed my whole freshman year of college. So that was all kind of a wash. So that was my first year at Arizona. And then came back. My first competitive ball played after surgery was in the Northwoods League after my freshman year at Arizona.
Okay.
Kind of just had some bumps and bruises along the way, kind of just trying to get back to full strength in summer league. And then returned to University of Arizona my sophomore year with a whole new coaching staff.
That's got to be
my
tough.
Freshman year, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
With under Andy Lopez my freshman year, and then Jay Johnson my sophomore year. Sophomore year didn't go as I planned either, but I still had a great time. I was, like I said, controlling the things I could control,
Right.
Being a good teammate, being a good dugout guy, always pulling for my teammates and, just waiting for my opportunity. Ended up only throwing one inning my sophomore year.
Wow.
Had some shoulder issues as a result of, coming back from Tommy John surgery, weak shoulder, velocity wasn't really there.
Yeah.
The sharpness of all my pitches wasn't really there. So yeah, only ended up throwing one inning, but that was a fun team to be on. We have a lot of incredible players, Bobby Dahlbeck, JJ Matajevic, big leaguers now.
Yep.
We ended up losing to Coastal Carolina in the championship that year.
Okay, that's right. That's 2015, right?
Yeah.
Yep, 2015. Yep.
So yeah, that was a fun team to be on. We did a lot of winning. Then after that season was when I transferred to San Jacinto. I played summer ball again that summer.
Right.
Not having thrown a ton of innings down in the TCL, Texas Collegiate League, with the Acadiana Cane Cutters. Had a good summer that summer, got some exposure, and then transferred to San Jacinto.
So let's wait. Before you keep going, one of the things.
It's
a long story, but let's. You literally kind of transition after meeting Walter, and everybody that's listening. Walter Beatty, Masters of Baseball. Walter's a great guy. He's actually working with the Bluebook now. But after you met Walter, and he kind of gave you that hard truth of going into, hey, you're a pitcher. You didn't do a lot of pitching. It sounds like prior to blowing out your elbow, going through the rehab. Where were you getting your reps? And that's, to me, I'm sitting here going, wow, you come from the outfield. You're now a starting pitcher. And there's a lot of time there that you really need to develop that side, unless you're super good and you just were able to pitch. But what happened there to kind of develop yourself without getting the innings in a collegiate level?
Oh, that's my fault. I did pitch along the way in high school as well. I was doing two.
Oh, okay.
So I pitched all growing up and all through high school as well, but I was still playing out.
Okay, understood. So you were pitching. You were all I totally understand. So that just wanted to clarify that for people that are listening, because I'm sitting here going, I'm an outfielder. I want to pitch, and I want to go to University of Arizona too.
Yeah, definitely didn't just hop in to the whole pitching thing, cold turkey. But yeah, so I ended up going to San Jacinto Community College for 1 year. Started there, had a really, really good year.
Awesome.
Got a lot of college exposure. Thought I was going to get a chance at the draft that year. I talked to a handful of teams, thought I was going to get a chance. Ended up not working out. So I ended up back in my hometown at Tulane University. Spent 2 years there, had 2 really great years under Travis Jewett. Enjoyed my time there, and now I'm here.
Well, that's great. Okay, so you went from Power 5, JUCO, Power 5. If a player, 15, 16-year-old player, they're looking, they're talking, everybody wants to go to a big school, everybody wants to get the limelight. You went to JC. What was the reason that you went to JC, and talk about that transition from one to another?
Yeah, I just wanted to play. I wanted opportunity to get on the mound and, get some innings in. And if I had to say one thing to a younger high school player is go where you're going to play. Everybody wants to go to the big school, and be that big name. But if you're going to go there and get buried, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, because you're going to get some good development. But, being on the field at the end of the day is the number one goal. I learned that very quickly going to the big school and then, kind of getting buried like I did. I mean, had some injuries, but at the end of the day, I wasn't playing. So that would be my main advice is it doesn't matter where you go. If you got the talent, they're going to find you. You look at all these big names in the big leagues now, it's not everybody went to the Power 5 school or came straight out of high school. There's a lot of guys that, kind of went to those smaller schools and still was able to develop and make a name for themselves. So they'll definitely find you.
No, I think it is a very interesting sport from the beginning to getting to the majors, and there's so many variables that go into it, right? You ask a player, it says, what's your ultimate goal? Playing the majors or a degree or whatever it is. The paths, there's so many variables to do that. So it sounds like, Kaleb, you really knew that your goal in this whole thing was the draft. Would that be an accurate statement?
Well, one thing I wanted to say too was not only go where you're going to play, go where you're going to get a good education as well. Because baseball doesn't last forever. And you get that certificate for life after baseball. That's really important too.
Yep.
And I'm blessed to have been able to finish my career at Tulane and have a degree from Tulane that can set me up for life after baseball. So it's not all just putting all your eggs in one basket trying to get to the big leagues, but kind of network and meet some people along the way. Try to set up life after baseball.
No, it's a crazy sport, that's for sure. You go with where you can play, but you also have to keep in mind that degree at the end of the day, because anything can happen, and it's either life after baseball or life because baseball didn't work out. There's just a lot of variables, and when you're 15, 16 years old, it's difficult to see through that and to realize what the real goals should be. So that's awesome. So after Tulane, you were in the draft. Talk about the process. What was it? What did you love about it? What did you really not like about it?
Kind of a funny story. I thought I was going to get a chance my first year after Tulane. Had a decent year, talked to a couple of teams as well, kind of similar to my year at San Jacinto. That ended up not working out, and then go back for a fifth year at Tulane, have another decent year, finally get my shot. We're sitting there, it's draft day. Didn't have a good enough year to where I'd be a day 1 or 2 guy. So day 3 comes along, you just sit there waiting for your name to be called. You're just sitting there watching the TV and then make all the picks, getting frustrated, and all the negativity and doubt starts creeping in your head.
Right.
And as I'm going to turn the TV off, my name's called. Never got a phone call, nothing. Didn't hear from an agent, didn't get a team call me, just heard my name on the tracker. And,
that's crazy.
It's crazy how God works. It's the moment you want to, turn it off and kind of just escape from it. Bam, there's your shot.
Yeah. That's a great analogy for life, right? It's, if you're doing everything that you can, that's the most important part. Have you done everything? Have you done what you need to be doing? And kind of let the chips fall as they may. And really, that doesn't mean that it's luck. It means that if you've done everything that you can do, then that's kind of what's going to happen. And I think that's awesome. So, but back to the watching names go by. This is just a personal thing. There had to have been a lot of players that you saw were being picked up that you knew through your journey, and you're probably, as any guy would be doing, oh man, I'm better than him.
You try to stay away from that mindset. Baseball's a small world. You meet a lot of guys, as you said.
It is.
Saw a bunch of guys that I knew.
Yeah.
But like I said, I prepared myself the best way I could. I did everything I could. you control what you can control. That's the best
Right.
advice Walter ever gave me. So I try to use that in every aspect of life, not just when it comes to baseball or the draft or
Yep.
or anything like that. Just
Well, the other thing that Walter always says is what comes around goes around, and he doesn't say it that specifically. But back to my statement, I said that tongue in cheek. I'm sure you were more excited for these players than anything, and so I get it. I totally understand. But Walter, let's talk about Walter and some of the things other than just, hey, you're a pitcher. What was that process? Obviously, he's not an agent. He's not representing you. He provided you just kind of that life skills and maybe a push in the right direction. Kind of elaborate on that just a little bit.
Yeah, Walt and I have a great relationship. I still talk to him 2 or 3 times a week still. He kind of just led me in the right direction, put me in front of the right people. Has been a great mentor for me, both mentally and physically. I'm very grateful for him, and I look forward to where he can still take me. He knows a lot of people.
He's awesome,
and I put a lot of trust in him, and I'm very thankful for him.
Well, hey, big shout out for Walt. And I'm actually going to have Walt on. I've already had him on my podcast probably a year ago. I'm going to have him again on today. And I'm excited about just talking about what we're doing with the Bluebook. And so I encourage everybody to take a listen to that as well. But Walter does a great job. The real focus is just, we talk about it all the time. We talk about, creating men. That's really the objective here. Baseball is a secondary kind of component of that. If you're a good man, you're going to be successful in whatever you do. That's what I love about baseball. I've run a lot of businesses and been in the business world and finding recruiting on our end, you recruit as well. You recruit and you bring in a ball player. They know how to lose and they know how to get up and win in spite of the losses. And that's what I love about baseball. It's success is not determined by the failures. Success is determined by your passion and by your drive, and it's evident in everybody I talk to. So Kaleb, other than Walt and a couple probably some coaches, some shout outs. Give us some people that other than Walt, who would you look at and go, I appreciate all the help that you've given us or given me in this journey. Not done yet, but up to this point.
Yeah, first and foremost, all glory to God for, putting me where I am today, still having this opportunity to play this game. Because, that's kind of what gets lost in all this when you get to this level is it's still a game.
Yep.
And at that, it's a game of failure. So, kind of just falling back and remembering those things. We're going to fail, and we're going to fail more than we succeed, especially in this game. And kind of just being grateful for this opportunity. Shout outs, my parents, they still support me more than they should at this point in my life. My fiance, always been there for me, supported me. This is a tough life for her for sure.
Yeah.
Me being away for more than half the year.
Yep.
Every coach I've ever had, they always, you kind of have tough relationships with some coaches, but, at the end of the day, they love you and they want you to succeed more than anything. They put you in the right positions, whether you think it or not. You can always butt heads with coaches, but at the end of the day, they just want what's best for you. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue to wrapping this up. Coaches, their responsibility is to prepare you, right? And again, back to our comments that we've made before is they can see things a little bit more clear because they're outside of the big picture, right, of where you want to go. And so having that trust for people, I think that's really important. Finding people like Walt, finding coaches that can continue through that journey because they know what's going on. And you're sitting there kind of going, should I be worried? Am I doing right? Everybody has that self-doubt. Everybody has that time that they're wondering what's going on, and having people there to support you is really great. Well, congratulations on the engagement, I guess. When did that happen?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been a long engagement. Last February, so it's been almost a year and a half. Wedding's this upcoming November, so we're looking forward to that.
Okay, awesome. Well, congratulations, November. Where is the wedding? Just hometown?
Down in New Orleans. Yeah, down in New Orleans.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well, that's
it's a good time.
that's exciting. That's the congratulations on that. Caleb, excited to watch your career. You're at the White Sox now. You just said that lost a tough one last night. When so you're bullpen, so you're ready to go any night. I encourage everybody to follow Caleb and his career. We're excited to have him on the program and be part of your career and your journey, and can't wait for you to make it. You know, obviously Walter will let me know, so we'll be one of the first to know, I'm sure. And I would love to have you back on when you make it to the dance.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate you guys joining us today. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.